Because space and time don't exist without matter, if matter had a beginning, then time of necessity also must have had a beginning. Thus, the universe was not eternal, it was finite. And if it was finite, it must have had a creator. So this is the thing. Some people used to believe that the universe just always existed. It didn't have a creator because it's always existed. And if the universe is finite, if it had a beginning, that must mean like somebody began it. So some atheistic scientists said, hey, the universe has just always existed. The problem with that is there was a Jewish German who was on the scene in the 1900s who wasn't really allowed into labs because of the anti-Semitism of that time. He was Jewish, he wasn't allowed to do lab work, and that's what the majority of astrophysicists were doing. They were working in labs. So this physicist, he had to just do everything from his head because as a Jew, he wasn't allowed access to a lab. So he just did a bunch of theoretical physics in his head and just did a bunch of math equations. And he started finding some very profound stuff that proved to be the most influential science since Principia Isaac Newton. His name was Albert Einstein. And he just sat there with his thoughts and his math equations in his head. And he constructed something called the special and general theories of relativity, which is that gravity and mass and acceleration warp space-time. And what he found, according to general relativity, is that space and time don't really exist without matter. So you can't have time or space without matter. So matter, time, and space are all basically woven of the same thing. It's kind of like a Trinity vibe there. They're all inextricably intertwined. There's a dance there. In fact, the word Trinity, choreography, comes from the early church talking about the dance of the divine. Anyways, what the general theory of relativity states is that because space and time don't exist without matter, if matter had a beginning, then time of necessity also must have had a beginning. Thus, the universe was not eternal, it was finite. And if it was finite, it must have had a creator. And now most people agree there was a beginning to the universe. Even the second law of thermodynamics, that entropy and decay and chaos increase and augment within a closed system, even that's now showing us that we're running out of usable energy, which means there was a finite amount of energy to run out from. Or the fact that we're going to increasing disorder must mean that there's a finite amount of order. But I'm hoping that the new heavens and the new earth, I don't know how the math's gonna work, but hopefully because matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed, God's gonna reconstruct the whole thing, reverse equilibrium, sort of invert the second law of thermodynamics. Through galactic dispersal, he's gonna bind it all together through, as opposed to redshift, blue shift. I don't know how God's gonna create the new heavens and the earth. I'm just theorizing here. But basically, it shows us that there was a beginning. There was a beginning. And so, if there's a beginning, that means somebody must have began it. That must mean there's a prime mover, a causeless cause, as Thomas Aquinas talked about. Be that as it may, all I'm trying to encourage you to understand is that science, the more deeply you delve into it, the more it proves the complexity of a creator, so much so that, in my opinion, it's almost absurd to believe anything different. It's almost absurd to believe anything different. Ben Courson here. Thank you so much for watching my new YouTube channel. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, share this video with all your friends, and hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. May the hope be with you.